After nearly 200 episodes, I am making a big change. I am changing the name of this podcast, which has been Find the Others, to The Way You Lead with Joshua Church. When things started going south and shit hit the fan, that was when I really discovered what it meant to lead. Because it's all great to lead when everything's fine and it's all roses and daisies, but it's another thing when you're stressed to make payroll the next month. The world doesn't just need more content. The world needs more courageous, heart-led, and embodied leaders. The world is changing so fast. And especially with AI, with how quickly it's going to evolve, within 10 years, any job that can be done on a computer is going to be done by AI, basically. I feel that over the next decades, we're going to be faced with a decision as a humanity for how we want to evolve and how we want to live. Are you willing to accept the risk of leadership? Because it's an inherent risk. You are putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself first. You are saying, hey, this is a mission that I'm on. This is an empire that I'm building, and I'm going for it. And I want you to come with me too. This is The Way You Lead, a show for the new era of leaders who are ready to rise. I'm Joshua Church, and every week we explore how to lead from the inside out with strength, heart, and authenticity. Through stories, strategies, and conversations with embodied leaders, you'll gain what you need to lead yourself and others in today's changing world. The way you lead matters, and now is the time to step up. Hello. Welcome to The Way You Lead podcast. I'm so happy to have you here, and welcome to the first episode of this new framing, of this new branding of The Way You Lead. It is a new chapter, and I'm super excited to have you here with me, tuning in and listening. And I just want to say, if you're here, trust that you're here for some reason, that there is some deeper part of you that's pulled you or called you here towards listening to this, and there might be some sort of shift or perspective or tool or lesson or reflection or upgrade that you can take with you on your journey. So this is a big episode. After nearly 200 episodes, I am making a change, a big change. I'm changing the name of this podcast that has gotten me to nearly 200 episodes, which has been Find the Others, to The Way You Lead with Joshua Church. So this podcast, I'm going to share a little bit more about the transition, the shift, the rebranding, take a moment to honor the past, and also to step forward into this new version of the podcast and a new version of myself as well. So for all of you that have been tuning in and listening since day one of Find the Others, thank you. Thank you for being here, being with me along this journey. And for those just tuning in, welcome. Strap up. It's going to be quite a ride. So really, why leadership? Why am I focusing more on leadership? I've felt this call for quite a bit now, and in a mastermind retreat that I was putting on and hosting in Sedona just a couple weeks ago, it really came clear. I have an episode dropping next week on that, so I won't get into too much details around the Sedona shift. What I was working with 7-figure entrepreneurs, and we were going deep into life, business mastery. But this has been something that has been on my mind for quite a bit now, which is that the world is changing so fast, and especially with AI, with how quickly it's going to evolve. I'm going to have a guest on to share with you all soon who's an AI expert, and he says that within 10 years that any job that can be done on a computer is going to be done by AI, basically. So it's happening, and it's happening radically fast. So with how much the world is changing and how much it feels like there's this divisive agenda, or it feels like we couldn't be further from each other. We couldn't be further apart from the truth, from each other, from our humanity. It feels like we're at a real fork in the road. And I really feel that way. I feel that over the next decade, the next decades, plural, we're going to be faced with a decision as a humanity for how we want to evolve and how we want to live, what kind of life we want to live here on Earth. And I feel that we need more embodied, heart-centered leadership. And I feel the call and the responsibility to step up in my leadership to display that and to inspire others to step up in their own leadership, because it's going to take all of us as leaders leading ourselves first and foremost, leading ourselves to be able to lead other people into the direction that we want, into this vision for a harmonious, loving, bright future of humanity ahead. And the world doesn't just need more content, in my opinion. The world needs more courageous, heart-led, and embodied leaders. And that starts with self-leadership. So if you're listening to this, you're one of them. And it's not just a desire, and for me this feels like a deeper undertone of not just like a, oh cool, like I want to refine my branding and refine what I'm talking about or niche down, so to speak, but to me it really feels like answering a call to step up and to call to action all of you to step up as well, because we need you. We need you to be embodied in your leadership. We need you to be courageous in the actions that you're taking, and to be conscious in your choice, in the choices that you're making, to pave a path for humanity that we all want to live in and all want to flourish in. So it can feel like heavy for sure at times, but to me it's just inspiring because we have the opportunity to create this world the way that we want to, and it's up to us to set the path and to set the tone for our kids' generation, for my niece and nephew, and the world that I want to see them grow up in. So I've thought a lot about this concept of leadership, and I'm going to share more later in this episode what this new era of leadership really means to me. And I'm still exploring this constantly. It's a constant iteration, but what it means to me now, and the direction I see it going, and some of the tenets around this. And the podcast is going to be really geared towards exploring those things, exploring those conversations, bringing on guests who are leaders in their own way, who are leading their lives, leading other people, leading organizations, leading companies, leading a movement, leading communities that are leading something, that have a vision and are executing on that vision, that are building something, that are working towards that vision. And again, it comes down to first thing first, which is self-leadership and self-responsibility, because you don't need to have people reporting to you or have an organization to be a leader. You are a leader by holding a vision and executing on that vision and building a life that's in alignment and integrity with that vision, and leading yourself there, leading your family there. So first, let's just talk a little bit about the evolution of Find the Others before we get too deep into the leadership concept here, which is Find the Others began 5 years ago now for me. And Find the Others was this real movement for myself of finding the other like-minded people that wanted to talk about spirituality, that wanted to talk about life and explore the edges of the full spectrum of what it means to be a human being, and to have the real conversations. I believe life is way too short for surface level conversation and small talk. And Find the Others was my mission to go find the others that want to talk about these things and want to live this life, and a very close mission to my heart. And it grew into this podcast, Find the Others podcast. And I brought in all these like-minded others, people that are looking and playing the game of life in a different way. And it helped me find myself. It helped me explore and discover who I really am. And it helped me find you. And so I'm very grateful for it. And now it's time to evolve. And the evolution here is very interesting because really the others, find the others. I always had a hard time defining it. It's for people that are open-minded, for people that are spiritual, for people that are seeking to get the most out of life. But really the others were leaders all along. To be an other, to be finding the others, to me, it always meant someone who's a free thinker, someone who is paving their own path, someone who is not just living merely existing with a surface level existence, but is living, is thriving, is seeking to do those things, is seeking depth, is seeking more, is striving for greatness, striving for more. And so that really is a leader at the end of the day. And that's why it feels like a very natural progression here for me as well. And so it's really a refinement, this whole brand shift and the podcast shift. For me, it's a refinement. It's more of a refinement than a reinvention. And it's not about what I talk about, but more importantly, it's about who I'm talking to, which is you, which is the leaders out there that want to step up in their leadership and that have a big vision that they're executing on, that have something big that they're building. And that's my calling, to serve the leaders of this new era. And so the rebrand will reflect this clarity of purpose, identity, and voice, and give me a real lane to tie things back to, and to share certain principles and concepts and tie things back to. And it's very fresh. It's very real for me after just my experience with Edge Theory Labs and with the rise and the fall and the alchemy of building a $20 million business in less than 3 years, and then losing it all and alchemizing it all. And it's been something so top of mind. But for me, my journey as a leader goes way back to middle school, even high school, really, as I got involved in the associated student body. I was class president for my freshman, sophomore, junior year, and then senior year, I was a student body president, and it was something that just came natural to me. And it's funny, but we often can't see the forest for the trees within ourselves. There's great exercises in personal development where you go ask friends, how would you describe me? What would you say my strengths are? And because it's so hard for us to see within ourselves. And one of the things that whenever I would do an exercise like that, one of the things that would always come up is you're a leader. I view you as a leader. And I knew that, but I never really claimed that. But growing up, I in student body, I started the students cheer section called the Jungle, which is still around today at our high school. And me and Kelsey Plum started that, and we got everybody together, and we built this organization, and we got the stands filled with our classmates and our peers, and then I was captain of the football team, captain of the basketball team as well. So it was something that I just naturally did, which was get people together and motivate people under a common goal, and move people, galvanize people towards to an event, to show up at a certain time or place, to be aligned with a certain direction and vision. So something that came natural to me, and then naturally as I launched Edge Theory Labs with my cousin Rob and stepped into that co-founder, co-CEO role, being a leader was something that just felt right, especially because I had such a strong passion for what we were doing, helping people with cold water immersion, and it changed my life, and I knew it could change other people's, and I held that so strongly, and we walked the walk. We crossed the finish line of Ironman triathlons. We pushed our edge every single day. We built a team of others that were doing the exact same thing. We had a Misogi fund where we funded each employee to go do something that challenged them that year, whether it was a marathon or some sort of personal development course or something. And we really walked the walk, and that came through. And that was, in my opinion, a huge part of the success that we had, is that there was an authenticity in how we were leading and the brand that we were building. And so there's so many amazing crossover and parallels. And a lot of times when I'm working with different founders or execs right now, I talk a lot about that, about the pillars, about your brand identity, about how are you living your brand identity. And that can make such a big difference. So I saw that happen, and I saw how we were able to galvanize our team of 15 people at one point at our peak of 15 people, bringing them together and getting everybody aligned on this mission and motivated. And our team meetings were just electric, and the synergy that we had, and it was incredible. And leading that team was one of the greatest joys that I ever had. And then when things started going south and shit hit the fan, that was when I really discovered what it meant to lead. Because it's all great to lead when everything's fine and it's all roses and daisies, but it's another thing when you're stressed to make payroll the next month, or when you're running out of cash, or when you're dealing with a lawsuit, or you're dealing with manufacturing issues that are going to set you back hundreds of thousands of dollars and cause you tons of time. So that is really where I felt like I discovered my true leadership, was not just through the highs, but through the lows, through how am I going to navigate through this challenge ahead of me? What is the way that I'm going to choose to show up and lead through this obstacle, through this adversity? What's the mindset? What am I telling myself? What are the conversations that I'm having? What are my habits? What's my routine? How am I going to lead myself through this chapter, through this phase? And it was everything. And as we actually had to navigate our wind down, and I had to face the ego death of losing the thing that I had built and spent so much time and energy and identity building, it brought me to it pushed me to my absolute edge. And I share about that on a podcast, which I'll drop in the show notes, The End of Edge, Lessons from Shutting Down My Company. And I'll go deeper into some of the things that helped get me through that. And I highly recommend you listen to that one as well. And when I shared that episode, when I shared what was going on in my mind as I was leading through that process, I noticed how many people gravitated towards that message and wanted to hear more and wanted more of that. And that's when the dots started kind of clicking and connecting of, oh, like this is really important to talk about, because there's so many people talking about leadership. There's so many people talking about success, so many people talking about entrepreneurship, but there's few people talking about how do you lead when times are tough? How do you show up when your faith and belief is running at a low? How do you replenish that faith and belief? And how do you lead through your business failing? People talk about startup. Nobody talks about winding down. And it's not fun, but it's so worthwhile and it's so valuable. And I had the most growth I could have ever imagined and wished for and hoped for through that process. And as we know, growth is not comfortable. Growth hurts. Growth really hurts. It's your tearing of your muscle fibers. It's the tearing of your spiritual fibers. That's the growth process. And the way that I was able to show up and lead myself and our team through that is something that I will forever be proud of, and something that I will forever be very, very, very happy with the way that I showed up, because it wasn't easy, but that's the point. So that is when I realized that I understood what authentic leadership meant at that time. Through the failure of our company, I really realized the importance and the definition of what it means to lead authentically and with your heart forward and with integrity. It forced me to, because there was choices, there was options, and Rob and I chose to lead with integrity and authenticity. And so people weren't just inspired by the wins, they were moved by the truth. And so that empowered me to start to share more about this, to start to talk more about this, which has led us to where we are here today, and me being called into this next phase and feeling pulled into this next version of myself. So I want to talk a little bit about what this phrase that I'm using a lot that is resonating with me, which is, we need a new era of leadership, and we need to welcome in a new era of leaders who are leading with strength, with heart, with authenticity, among many other things. But I these three pillars are pillars I'm playing with right now. I know this will evolve and change and get even better, but right now, strength, heart, and authenticity really sums it up to me. And this is what I feel is really required. So I want to break down a couple of the pillars and tenets of leading with strength, leading with heart, and leading with authenticity. So firstly, leading with strength. We need strong leaders, and you need to be strong to lead, because the path will challenge you, and you need to hold your vision strong, and you need to have strength to stand for what you believe in and to hold your ground and to stay the course. It requires strength to be able to stay the course and to keep executing when there's obstacles in your way. That requires real strength. It also requires strength in there's a massive strength that's required in vulnerability, and being vulnerable and asking for help and opening up and sharing what's real. So strength comes in many different forms, but mental toughness is a huge part, I think, that we are very deprived of today. And you'll hear a podcast with Chad Sonkin, who's a mental toughness expert, as I like to say, who shares his amazing perspectives on mental toughness. And one of the things that he said is, let's say a couple hundred years ago, the biggest thing that you needed to survive and to thrive in our world was physical toughness. Like, you needed to be physically tough. And for most of human history, until very recently, that was the way that you survived. That was the way that leaders were made, is you were the strongest. You could kill your enemies. You could defend you could defend your family and your property. You were stronger, might made right. Now that's shifted. And one of the things that Chad says that I love is that was what was needed several hundred years ago, several thousand years ago, certainly. Now, what is needed today is mental toughness. The thing that you need to survive and to thrive today is mental toughness, because most of the world is not living in an existential conflict right now. Most of the world is struggling with depression, with anxiety. Suicide kills more people than wars altogether. Obesity kills more people than starvation across the world. So we are fighting this internal battle between our ears right now and in our mind. And so building a sense of mental toughness and building a strength from mental toughness is super important. So this is grit. This is discipline to me. This is the courage to face the hard things. This is clarity. This is focus. Strength comes from leverage, high leverage of focus and clarity of your purpose and your mission. There is strength in that. So that is one tenet of this new era of embodied leadership is strength, leading with strength. The next one is heart, leading with heart, which to me is leading with love, leading with faith, with integrity, with emotion, with passion. And being heart-centered to me means having compassion, having the highest good for humanity on your heart, having a desire to make a positive impact and to leave this world better than we found it. That to me is what heart-centered means, to lead every interaction from the heart with that place of love and compassion, and choosing that over greed, over power, over control. but leading from that heart center, because that is the most expansive power. And also leading with an emotional intelligence, with connection, with impact, connecting to your heart, connecting to yourself. And belief and faith is huge, is having leaders and having people that are faith driven, that are belief driven, that have a relationship with God, that have a sense of morality. That also requires strength, but having that heart centeredness of of strength, of morality, of what is right, what is just, and standing for that. And having that faith and belief in God is a huge piece of all of this. And it's something that's coming back full circle. I was just in the sauna yesterday talking with someone, and she said that she grew up with two atheists, and she found faith on her own, and it's been the most beautiful thing for her ever. And I love that. It's something I'm picking up on a lot right now in the collective consciousness, of people coming back to faith, of people searching for some sort of faith or system to put their faith and believe in, because it's a lonely, cold, dark world if you don't have that. And leaders with faith and with a relationship with God. I mean, look at our founding fathers, and look at how we founded this country, one nation under God. God was at the forefront of this great American experiment that has changed the course of humanity and the trajectory of our entire world. And in God we trust is the first thing. One nation under God. And having that, this works when we have that clear consciousness, when we have that sense of faith, when we have that sense of morality, and we are connected to the divine and to a higher power. So that's what leading with heart means. It also means to me trusting in what you can't see yet. It's having faith that the dots will connect. It's following the yellow brick road, as I like to say. Taking the next indicated step and executing on your vision, even if you can't see the full picture. So that's a little bit about what it means to lead with strength, to lead with heart, and to lead with authenticity. Man, you got to walk the walk. Talk is cheap. It's like, are you living what you rap about? It's one of my favorite lines. I'm pretty sure it's a J. Cole line, but it's, are you walking the walk? And authenticity, leading with authenticity, means that you are embodying and you are practicing. It's a constant practice, but you are practicing to embody what you are preaching or what you are sharing or what you're talking about. You are leading the way by leading it yourself, because there's so many people out there that are talking, and you know the difference between a leader or a manager who's telling you to do one thing but doing a completely other thing. So the authenticity in the leadership is so important, because we all have a bullshit meter and a detector, and we're not going to follow someone who's not actually living what they preach about. I mean, we have that sense. We have that sixth sense as humans to know. So it's so important right now to be real and to walk the walk, and to lead from that place of intuition. That's a huge part of this authenticity as well, is to be to thine own self be true. Honoring your own intuition, honoring your own path and the authenticity of who you are and who you're here to become. So leading with authenticity is really important. Part of that too is being real and being vulnerable and sharing and bringing people in when it's appropriate to as well. But that's a huge part of authenticity. And so that's a little bit what it means for me to be leading with strength, leading with heart, leading with authenticity. There's so many more tenets and pillars and stuff I'm constantly exploring. There's many things in the works, and I just feel that these are tenets that, if we can strive to embody in our leadership, that it's going to make a massive difference for the course of our humanity and our impact. So I feel so grateful and so inspired and lit up to be able to do this. And this isn't really just a rebrand either. This is me stepping into a deeper alignment. In the last 2 weeks, since I've really locked into these shifts and had these shifts, it's changed my life entirely, to be honest with you. The way that I am showing up for myself now is a whole different way. I'll talk about this in the next episode around identity based behavioral change, and how that's where real change is made, is when we up-level our identity, or we view ourselves in a different way, in an up-leveled way, because then all of our actions and decisions are filtered through that lens, and it becomes very easy to make change. And so for me now, all of my actions and decisions are being filtered through this lens of, I am a leader. I am showing up as a leader, and I am inspiring you to show up as a leader too. So that requires me to be at a massively high level of leadership and constantly refining. I've been back on reading books and audiobooks and learning from other leaders in history and sharpening my skill set and tool set. I've been leading in the little ways of having the conversation with someone, with a stranger, or paying a deed forward, or doing some random act of kindness, and leading in the ways that I want to lead. And it's at the forefront of my mind, and it's a level up for me as well to be able to talk directly to you leaders who are listening to this conversation. So to lead others, I have to go first, and leaders go first. One of the things that we had in high school for our senior football shirts is on the back. It said, if you were a black stripe meant that you played football all 4 years, and you had a black stripe on your helmet that denoted you played all 4 years of football. And so there was a group of us black stripe seniors, and the shirts for the black stripes on the back said, "Are you willing to accept the risk of leadership?" I love that quote. Are you willing to accept the risk of leadership? Because it's an inherent risk. You are leading. You are putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself first. You are saying, hey, this is a vision that I have. This is a mission that I'm on. This is an empire that I'm building, and I'm going for it. And I want you to come with me too. And that is risky because it doesn't always work out, or you get detoured. But the real leadership comes in how you respond when you get knocked off course. How do you refine your mission? How do you refine your focus? How do you get back on the path? How do you dust yourself up yourself? And then how do you get people to get back on your path and follow you forward? That's real leadership. So I just want to wrap this up here by saying thank you to you all, for everyone who's been a part of Find the Others up to this point, everybody that's been a part of my circle, my friends, my connections, and you have all helped me grow into this next version of myself who's ready to lead at this next level, and I'm very excited for that. So what's coming next? Things you can expect around this podcast and the show around what's coming next. I'm going to talk a lot more about these different tenets of leadership and exploring this new era of leadership, and exploring how we can up-level our leadership, different mindsets, different tools, different stories, different perspectives, different guests that I'm going to bring on that are leaders in their own ways. And I'm going to share a lot more too, specifically dissecting my experience at Edge, growing, hiring team members, firing team members, having tough conversations, raising money, losing it all. I'll be sharing a lot more into the behind the scenes of what that experience was like and how that helped me step into my leadership. We'll be exploring all the intersection of health and wellness and spirituality, and how that is a super important pillar of us as embodied leaders, of embodying our own leadership and to have the drive to keep going. So these are things that that we'll be sharing more on the show, and also I'll be planning to do more events around this type of conversations here in San Diego, virtually and globally, but mostly here in San Diego. So definitely stay tuned for that. And I want to invite you in this conversation here to reflect on, what does the next level of leadership look like for you? What would it look like if you were to step up in your leadership of yourself and of other people that you are leading right now? What does that look like for you? I want you to reflect on that question, because that can open up a lot. It opened up a lot for me. And where are you being called to rise? Where do you feel the call to rise? One thing I love about studying George Washington, who I've loved studying, and Ulysses S. Grant, and some of these great leaders from the founding of our nation, is that it wasn't really a choice that they had. It was a call that they could not answer. It's not like, oh, I want to be a leader. It's like, I feel so compelled towards living my life aligned with these principles and these values, aligned with this vision, aligned with this mission. I feel so called to live my life that looks like this, that I don't have a choice. I have to execute on that, and I have to stand up for what I believe in when people are encroaching on what that vision looks like. So that's something that I want you to reflect on, is where are you being called to rise? And it's probably gonna be a little scary and uncomfortable where that real call is coming from, but where are you being called to rise? So think about that. And then what shifts if you lead, what shifts if you lead yourself like someone you deeply respect? So like, what will shift in your life if you lead yourself like someone you deeply respect? Because we need to earn that respect for ourselves, and remember that respect that we have for ourselves, and that comes through taking action. So I'm going to wrap this all up here. Thank you. If this resonated, please share with someone and bring them along the journey for us to explore how we can level up and upgrade the way that you lead, the way that we are leading together. And this is the way you lead, and we are just getting started. So thank you. And can't wait to have you on for the next episode, and stay tuned because we're going places.